Hey guys, welcome to A Film Darkly. I'm your host Anthony Pacino, and today's episode is going to be way different than anything I've done before. In fact, this isn't really a normal episode where I'm going to do like this intense philosophical breakdown using quotes. Instead, this is going to be kind of like a review / philosophical breakdown of Wonder Woman. I just got back from watching it, and with it being fresh in my mind, I figured, hey, it's a good time to talk about it. So, first of all, Wonder Woman I thought was thoroughly entertaining. It was actually cut really well, edited really well, which was surprising because DC films, particularly the executives of Warner Brothers, have continuously screwed up every single DC film by editing them so poorly. Suicide Squad is one of the best examples. Batman vs. Superman. There's a Zack Snyder cut that's actually far superior to the theatrical cut. And that's mostly due to the fact that Snyder took his time and did like a better cut. It's the same thing happened with him with Watchmen. Snyder likes to tell big, long, epic stories, and for some reason studios don't like giving that to him. So Wonder Woman, on the other hand, really managed to pace itself really well. Really well pacing. Well done pacing, excuse me. And I found the characters to be really nice, really well done. Diana's character, Wonder Woman herself, was just so well done. You felt like you knew her, and it never ever tried to jump story wise. It paced itself so well to the point that every time Diana was on screen and was interacting and things like that, like you just sort of, it flowed really well. It wasn't poorly done. It wasn't too fast. It wasn't like, 1 second I'm from Themyscira, the next second I'm like full-fledged American or something. No, it was like she was constantly in this flux of being this girl who knew this one world and is sort of cast into this other world, or not cast into it, chooses to enter this other world. And in this other world, she is naive, and she continues to be naive, and it's really well done. Really fantastic elements in this film. The look of the movie was really well done, really great looking, fantastic. Just the armor, the sword, the shields, everything in the Amazonians was absolutely gorgeous and just looked wonderful. And World War I, the Great War, the way they painted the landscape and everything was very much like you would expect the war to look, and it had vibrant colors, and it looked very Zack Snyder-ish, which I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed that look. I enjoy the look of DC films, and Patty Jenkins, the director of Wonder Woman, had no problem continuing that. But this movie was just unbelievably crisp. It was so solid in how it was played out, how it went scene to scene, and just in every which way it possibly could have been. Were there mistakes? Tiny little mistakes, but not much. Editing was really well done. Screenplay or the script, really well done. Great dialogue. There was this one scene between Gal Gadot and Wonder Woman and Chris Pine, who plays I'm trying to remember his name right now. I don't remember the main character's name. I would actually have to look it up real quick. I think it was Steve. I think his name was Steve. Don't mind my typing so I can find this out real quick. Steve Trevor. Steve Trevor, really great in this film, by the way. But him and Diana are having this scene where they're laying in a boat together and they're sharing dialogue, or they're just talking, and it's one of the funniest, endearing scenes they could have possibly put in this movie. The dialogue and the exchange is so well done. I even stopped and said that to myself while watching the film, which I hardly ever do. This movie is really just a triumphant victory for Warner Brothers, basically in the sense that they put DC back on track with this film. Really, really back on track. That was one of the things I found to just be stupendous about it, is how well it did so. So, it looked fantastic, had great screenwriting, had good editing. Two more factors have to come in: action, acting. Action-wise, great. Wonder Woman, fantastic. I mean, Gal Gadot has the look, has the mystique, the feel of Wonder Woman, and just the action scenes, from the scene you see in the trailers with the Amazonians fighting Germans. Great scene. The little war battle you see Wonder Woman involved in. Wonderful scene. And one of the things I liked was it wasn't just about her sword. Like, she could do other things as well. And then the final climactic battle, absolutely awesome. Just a great fight. That at first I was kind of like, this is a little odd, but it eventually morphed into something really, really, really cool. So I was very happy with that. I just thought it was wonderful the way they did it. No pun intended. But acting is the place where they fell short. Gal Gadot is wonderful in this film. She isn't a bad actress. No character I could think of, except for one minor character, was bad at acting. So I'm not saying they're bad, but there was nothing superb. There was nothing stupendous. There was no role where I felt like that could possibly be Oscar material. There was nothing like that for me in that film. It had great acting, it had good acting, but there was nothing like fantastic, nothing that blew me out of the water. Gal Gadot was good in the sense that I thought she would do worse, and she ended up doing a lot better than that. So it's more like she exceeded not exceeded my expectations, because I was kind of giving her the benefit of the doubt, because I was one of the people who actually thought she did great in Batman vs. Superman. But it was just sort of like I don't know what's going to happen with her leading this film. And she did great, though. She did wonderful. And perhaps if I would have seen her as a normal actress already, I probably wouldn't have judged her so harshly, so she wouldn't have impressed me as much. It would have been less impressing. To me, she established herself as an actress we can go ahead and sit and take a deep breath and okay. As long as if she's in a movie, we're okay. That's how I felt about her. I didn't feel like there was really anything else you could say about her role or how she did in the movie where I say, oh, she outacted Chris Pine. No, she didn't. She didn't outact anybody. But she was charming. And I think the thing that tripped me out the most was her comedic chops. A lot like Chris Hemsworth. Great comedic chops in this film. I mean, really, really well done. And that was one of the things I enjoyed tremendously about this film. So, in the end, given that there's only one little thing for me to complain about, I'd have to, out of 5, if I give this 1 out of 5 is how I usually rate. That's how I rate on Rotten Tomatoes. So I would, if anything, I'd have to give this a 4.5 stars, or whatever grading you want to use, or an A- if you were to do it that way. That's how good this film was. That's how good I felt it was. How much I enjoyed it, and how little flaws I felt like it had. It honestly sits up there as probably one of my favorite comic book movies of all time, if not the best comic book movie I've seen. I don't think I could put it above like Winter Soldier or Civil War. For me, Man of Steel. I actually really, really enjoyed Man of Steel. But I definitely can throw it up there as being equal to those films, if not possibly better than those films, including that of Avengers. So I think for me, this is just, it was a great film, and I really, really enjoyed myself. So what about the philosophical elements of this movie? Well, there's a few different philosophical elements within this film. For one, well, I should start by saying DC films tend to be more philosophical than what you might find Marvel films to be. Not to say Marvel movies don't, but you just don't see it. It's not as deep. That's why I've not like gone off on Iron Man or some other character. I'm I'm trying to think right now. Thor and Ant-Man and all these other characters. There's something there. I'm not saying there's nothing, but it's harder to dig something up. Whereas with Man of Steel, you're dealing with a really big philosophical idea. Batman versus Superman, there's a big idea there. In Wonder Woman, there's a couple of big ideas. For one, and this is without going into really much spoilers at all, so I'm not spoiling the film. But for one, you kind of have this whole idea of having to come out of Themyscira. Well, you know what? Let me say right now, if you don't want to hear anything that's possibly spoilerish, you could cut off the audio now. So you could go ahead and cut off the podcast now. But if you don't mind hearing something that may give a bit too much information but won't really spoil it for you, then go ahead and listen on. So we know by the trailer Diana leaves Themyscira. And there's something to be said about that, about this girl who's been raised in this seclusion, where this is her world of this secluded world of only women existing in their peace. And now what has happened is they are sort of like, she's having to emerge from this world, similarly to how somebody who maybe lives in the Bible Belt would emerge from the Bible Belt, and suddenly find themselves in a very real world where things don't operate the way they thought they operated. So it's sort of like this idea of having community, but having community that's so tightly knit, it's like that of a cult, which keeps you from the real world. And never being able to experience the real world is like never being able to experience the other. And you've heard me talk about this before if you've listened to my past audios, my past podcasts, where I talked about facing the other, facing other people, and learning that other people need help. That it's not just about you, but it's about them. Now, Diana's character isn't the kind of character that thinks it's about her. She doesn't. She thinks it's about others. But she's faced with the obstacle of having to realize she's surrounded by people who don't think about the other. And now she has to emerge and be that person. She has to emerge from her home and do what her people are unwilling to do. And that is to help and to face the other. And so you have this tremendous concept of her facing the other because willfully in trying to pull herself out. But what she finds out about the other is the interesting part. The fact that the other isn't as clean cut as she thought. It's not as easy to help other people as one might think when other people are human. And you're probably thinking to yourself, wait a minute, of course they're human, they're people. Yeah, but think back to the Watchmen. Think back to the Joker. The dilemma of human nature. Smack dab right in the center of what it is to be human. What it is to help the other is to face human dilemma head on. Now, to have compassion for the other, to love the other is the best way to overcome this dilemma. It's the best way to overcome it. But see, you have to face it. And that's what Diana has to do in this film. She has to face the other and see the other for who the other truly is. That the other is not perfect, but the other has issues. The other has problems. So Wonder Woman sort of gives us a different kind of observation of the world, where you have this character who pulls themselves from the tight-knit community that's not allowing them to face the other, but to come head on with the ethical dilemma of human nature, and realizing that that's not very pretty. So how do you come to grips with that? Imagine that. Imagine, if you will, a person with the right intent who understands the other. It reminds me of the Gospels, where you find the character of Jesus Christ stating, God forgive them, for they know not what they do. As if to say, they're man, and there's this dilemma. Christ understood the other, but Christ also found out what the other was capable of. And that's what you have to face. You have to understand that helping the other is always wonderful. It's the best thing you could do, especially to love them. But never forget they're human. And when you come face to face with that, you have to do your best not to lose hope. That is what Wonder Woman is about. If you've not seen it yet, I implore you to see this film. Not only see this film, but think about what I've told you and look for it in the movie. Look for this dilemma. This isn't spoilers, obviously. I'm not giving you away any plot points or anything like that. But this is something Wonder Woman must face. Diana Prince has to face. And it's a tremendous type of philosophy. It's a tremendous type of thing to take into consideration. So I'm going to go ahead and end this podcast there. This is one of my shorter podcasts, but I hope you guys enjoy it nonetheless. So yeah, go out and see Wonder Woman. Watch it. It's a great film. Really, really fun. Lots of philosophy involved with it. And just great. It's just really, really enjoyable. I can't wait to see it again. Like I said, 4.5 out of 5. So don't forget to like, subscribe, share, get my podcast out there. I want people to hear it. I want people to experience what I have to say. Not that I'm all that important, but I'm just trying to throw some good ideas out there. So until next time, guys, bye-bye.